Somewhere behind me is Dubai, and this is a Dubai half-desert road. And this here is the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado J250, or the combination of all these names depending on where you live. Here in the United Arab Emirates, this is called the Toyota Prado, and is there a better place to review it? I don't think so. Let's go. Full disclosure, I'm here on vacation, for which I'm paying myself. I did approach Toyota to help me arrange a press car in Dubai, in exchange for which I am recording this review. However, this does not cloud my judgment about this model or other Toyota models.
What you see here is driver error. It's been 25 years since I drove in the desert. First, I should have turned on MTS or Multi-Terrain Select and selected sand, and only then drive in the sand. Optionally, I could have aired down before getting stuck, and if you get stuck, you can call for help or wait for a friendly policeman who told me to air down to about 1 bar or 15 psi. And then he just drove out from the sand trap. Later on, you'll see in some cases it's better to air down even more.
I picked the car up yesterday from Toyota Dubai. I came here to the half-desert road to take some Instagram pictures, and the first thing I did was get stuck. Fortunately, there was a nice policeman who came along. He kicked the tires, saw that the pressure was too high, even though I aired down a little bit, but clearly not enough, and he helped us get out. I was able to reverse in crawl mode, but that's about it. And then the ground clearance ended. I didn't have a sufficient departure, or in this case approach angle, to go up a small incline to get out of this sand pit. Today I just put the car into MTS sand, and it pretty much drives itself, and I didn't even air down. Of course, if I would get stuck, I probably would air down and get out no problem. But right now, this is a piece of cake, this. Oh yeah. By the way, the press office told me to go for it, so I'm going for it. No jumping.
Briefly about the name and positioning. Toyota Land Cruiser is an umbrella name for 3 different models. There is the Light Duty series, the Heavy Duty series, and the Station Wagon series. Light Duty is the Prado, currently J250. Previous generation was called J150. The Station Wagon is the J300. Previous generation was called J200. And that's what is known as the Land Cruiser in some markets. So, when Toyota launched the Prado in the States and called it the Land Cruiser, it left some journalists and customers scratching their heads. And then there is the heavy-duty series like the J70, which you can still buy brand new in some markets. As far as size goes, the J250 Prado is slightly bigger than the J150 it replaces. It's about the size of the current Jeep Grand Cherokee or the Volkswagen Touareg. It's also a bit smaller than the Land Rover Defender 110.
At first, the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado cockpit seems very well laid out, very well appointed. We've got buttons on the steering wheel, we've got buttons for the AC, we've got buttons and knobs for all the multi-terrain system, for crawl, for drive modes, for four-wheel drive, diff locks, etc, etc. So we've got all of this, and that's good. However, we also don't get much space. We have a wireless charger for one phone, and by the way, my phone has this thick case, which some of you say in the comments when I complain about wireless chargers that it obstructs charging. No, it doesn't. In a Toyota, the wireless charger works, and it works even with my thick case. If in some car it doesn't work, it's not because of the phone, it's because of the charger. Anyway, here it works, but I don't seem to have much space. I have some space here, maybe to put my sunglasses, but the cable is running through here. Why the cable? We'll talk about it in a minute. So there is no storage compartment up here, and this here is, well, it's a luxury feature. It's a chilled compartment here, but it's not very big. If I take my bottle and try to put it here, it won't close. So this is maybe for 4 of these thin energy drink cans, but nothing bigger. So there isn't much storage for a car this big. There are some door pockets, but it's very tight down there. And that's about it. There's also a glove box. This one is filled with manuals, which maybe I should have read before I got stuck in the desert, but now I know everything. I'm a professional idiot. So, yeah. I just try to wing it. Now, about this cable here. This cable is needed for Android Auto, because depending on the spec, you either get wired Android Auto or wireless Android Auto. This is the wired spec, although this is some kind of adventure mid-trim here for the Middle East. I'm not sure what it's like in Europe. We've got a digital screen in front of the driver, and we've got a infotainment display here, which you're going to use mainly for Android Auto anyway, because this is useless. What is good but could be improved is the 360 camera. The 360 camera goes on even when you're doing some parking maneuvers going forwards, but as soon as you hit about 5 or 10 kilometers per hour, the screen goes off, and then you have to press a button, thank God for the button, to get the camera back on to complete the maneuver. However, it's a decent camera, and this car is very good at maneuvering. Also, you get this sort of fake view from the back, which is cool. You get camera washers and all that jazz, so that's quite a good system. So I like that. The seats are comfortable, visibility is good. If you're wondering about the window tint, which is partial on the front, it's a UAE thing. In the past, you would have to have a car registered to a woman to get as much tint all around. Nowadays, it seems to be legal, or at least nobody questions it, because this is a Toyota press car and it's covered like this. Maybe their rationale is that there are also female journalists who drive these cars, and that's why it's tinted all the way down here. I've also seen cars which are tinted all the way in the front, but that's probably totally illegal. And if you want to know, I have this exactly in my line of sight, so it's absolute crap. And when it gets dark, I really can't see anything. So go easy on the tint. But I understand, it's a hot country, sunny country, so that's why it's here.
When you hear the United Arab Emirates, you probably think Dubai, shopping malls, glitter and gold and supercars. But there's so much more to this country.
Today I took a trip up the mountains. We're probably in the Emirate of Sharjah, more or less. and we are driving in the Wadi Shauka. Wadi is a stream riverbed. We're just driving into it right now. So if there are rainfalls, this becomes a stream, and you're obviously not allowed to drive in here, but the rains are less and less frequent, so you know, it's a great place to have a weekend trip. Now, it's not very challenging for a car like that. I've seen some sedans along the way, which I think their drivers are very brave, but yeah. Also, I got to test the hill descent control, which you moderate the speed of with a knob here, a dial. So that's very useful. And I mean, it's not very challenging, but you know, it's a fun thing to do when you have a Land Cruiser at your disposal, right?
The camera may not show it, but I'm driving about 10-15 kilometers per hour on these roads and riverbeds. This means even a relatively short trail can take a couple of hours to drive through the mountains, and there are routes that can take a whole day or include overnight camping on high plains or down in the valleys by water pools which fill up during the winter.
So, how's the Land Cruiser Prado J250 on the road? As I said, Land Cruiser Prado J250. This is not what we in Europe knew as the large Land Cruiser, what the Americans knew as the Land Cruiser. This is what in the Middle East and Far East is known as the Prado. So it's the smaller of the Land Cruiser lineup. Hence, it doesn't get the big engine anymore. As far as I know, it gets the 2.4 liter turbo petrol hybrid in the States, which seems to be the same engine as you get in the Lexus RX 500h. Here it gets a 2.4 liter turbo non-hybrid, and in Europe we get a 2.8 liter diesel, and that's it. Because of the hybrid system in the States, as far as I understand, you lose the third row of seats. In Europe, the diesel gets third row of seats as an option, and here in the Emirates, the 2.4 petrol non-hybrid gets the third row of seats as standard. As far as the driving experience goes, regardless of which engine you go for, it's pretty much agricultural, and this is what is to be expected of a small, medium-sized off-roader. This car was never meant to be particularly sporty, and I get it. US journalists are used to what we know as the large Land Cruiser, which I think is now the 300 series, which got a V6 or V8, and it was a powerful car. This here is much less powerful, and it also sounds strained when you floor it, and I can't floor it because I'm in relatively dense traffic. Speaking of which, sorry for the beeps. The beeps are for the speed traps, which are all along the way here, so it's going to beep every now and then. Because I'm in dense traffic, I'm using the adaptive cruise control and active lane keep assist. It's okay, because the traffic may be dense, but it's not very complicated. There are just long straights with a few bends. However, if I want to be in control, I have to switch everything off, because the lane keep assist without adaptive cruise control is a bit too aggressive. And the adaptive cruise control, if I'm on the highway doing whatever, 120, which is the top speed around here, and there is a truck going slower, way on the horizon, this thing starts braking too abruptly. So you have to mind that, and you have to change lane appropriately early to avoid that. Other than that, this car uses about 13 liters per 100 kilometers, and I would call it combined with my off-roading. So we've been to the desert, we've been to the Wadi for rock crawling, we've been doing some motorway driving, and we've been doing some city driving. And 13 liters per 100 kilometers is what you get out of the 2.4 liter non-hybrid turbo petrol. It's very maneuverable, this car. It's easy to park in a tight parking spot. We have a very small garage under the hotel and basement of the hotel, and I managed just fine to park it. There's a good 360 camera, so that helps. I do wish the camera did not turn off above whatever 10 kilometers per hour when I'm going forwards, because some maneuvers I would like to see longer, but there is a camera button, physical button, so I can always get it back up on the screen, so that's good. Okay, so that's my report of driving the Prado or Land Cruiser J250 in everyday traffic. In the back of the Land Cruiser Prado, I have a lot of legroom and sufficient headroom, let's say. Now, I noticed, or rather one of my viewers, my followers on Instagram noticed, also follow me at Marek_drives, that there isn't a lot of space in here. So you're sitting quite high, your thighs are in the air, and the seat doesn't move back and forth. To which I say, well, this is a body-on-frame off-roader, so you have to accept some compromises, and this is one of them. You're sitting, well, the floor is too high compared to the seat. If we wanted to move the seat up, you'd be sitting with your head on the roof, which isn't ideal. Now, what do we have here in the back? We've got third zone climate control, we've got side heated seats and ventilated seats. Also the seats in the front are heated and ventilated, of course, depending on the spec. And we have two USB-C ports. There's a tunnel running through the middle, so the middle seat is, well, you can, but you're gonna have to do something about your knees. Not very comfortable for the middle person. We have an armrest in which I shall store my water bottle, which I took from the door pockets, which are just big enough. But there is no pass-through to the boot because the rear seat splits 40-60. The backrest angle is adjustable from this almost or pretty much vertical position to something which is quite relaxed, if that's your sort of thing. I like it to have it about this much, but you know, to each their own. There are good grab handles which make it easier to get in and out of the car, so that's always a good thing to see. Okay, now let's go into the third row and see if it's worth anything for adults, or at least for your kids. So the third row of seats in the Toyota Land Cruiser, easy access, so that's good. Now you're sitting with thighs up in the air. Maybe if you're a teenager, that's cool. If you're not, you may not want to spend more time here, but there is a decent amount of legroom for me, who's 175 centimeters tall. There is a grab handle, there is air vents, two cup holders on each side, and the seat, or rather backrest angle, is adjustable to make a bit more space in the back. There isn't much, but there is some. Two USB-C ports as well, so I can charge things. And yeah, you know, when I was a kid, I really liked it back in cars like this. I had fun. Now, as a 40-something adult, I'd survive. The windows are big, so you know, hopefully you get some horizon view so you don't puke. And yeah, it's fine as a sort of jump seat situation. Speaking of jump seats, I remember when cars used to have those sideways. Ow. And that was cool. Okay, so as you've seen, access is easy. Let's see how easy it is to exit. Really easy, as long as you don't have a child seat mounted there, because then it's not as easy, but yeah. Okay, so let's check out the boot situation in the Land Cruiser Prado. You can open just the hatch, which I found useful when I parked too close to the wall in the basement car park, but this is just to sort of reach some stuff which is lying around here. If you want the full access, there's going to be a lot of beeping. Okay, here we are. Now, there isn't a lot of space behind the third row of seats, so these go down, and down we go. As you can see, two of these bags. This is the medium size Yeti carry-all, or whatever they want to call it. This is what fits here. Now, I will just slide it over there. So that we get a bit more space here. There is a 220 volt outlet, buttons to fold the seats in the second row. There is some tools, a toolkit down here. If we raise this, this is where the seats live. We also have these seatbelt secure catches here, at least on one side. On the other side, it got torn out by the vigorous representatives of the media. What else do we have here? We have anchor points down here and another two down there to attach some luggage. No shopping bag hooks. Let's see what's the size here. So the length of the boot to the second row is about 110 centimeters, and across here in the narrowest part is 110, 112 maybe. The height to the bottom of the cargo cover is about 34 centimeters, and about 45 to the window line. Now, if we fold the back seat, which you have to climb in to do, okay, let's see how that goes. This is all the way to the driver's seat, which is set to my driving position. I'm 175 centimeters tall, and it's just under 2 meters, 197, 198 centimeters. If you're taller, there's going to be less. If you're shorter, there's going to be more. And now I shall try and close the boot, which will result in more bing bong beep. Sorry about that, but this is Toyota. Also, it takes ages for the tailgate to close.
I graduated from high school in the UAE more than 25 years ago. Since then, I try to visit Dubai every couple of years. A friend asked me recently, what's so special about this place? One day you can ski, swim in the sea, hike in the mountains, and finish the day with a bit of dune bashing. Once we crossed the mountain trail, we ended up in Kalba on the Gulf of Oman coast. In a local fish market, we had great fish for lunch. You just buy it, they clean it for you, and a restaurant grills it to your liking. And on the way back to Dubai, we turned into the desert next to a huge fossil rock sticking out of the sand. Here I aired down to about 1 bar or 15 psi, which proved insufficient, and I was minding my own business until I met some other off-road drivers. and unfortunately I felt compelled to follow them. This is where I made a mistake of following the leader too closely and slowing down in the wrong place. From here, the only way was downhill in reverse. But first I needed to get unstuck. Help arrived in a Nissan Patrol. A friendly local ordered airing down to 0.7 bar or 10 psi and drove the Prado backwards downhill while I followed in his Patrol. While it may not look difficult, the goal is not to slide sideways, as this may end in a rollover. And there's a long way down. Now, I know I was irresponsible, but I'm like Bryan Adams, and everything I do it for you. Also, it reminded me of how much I miss desert driving. The muddy stuff we do in Poland is just not my cup of tea. Prices of the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado start at around 80,000 euro in Germany, and it's 97,000 in Poland. The German car seems to be a base spec and not many options can be added in the online configurator. In the UAE, this is an adventure trim for around 68,000 euro.
Well, these were several very adventurous days. The Toyota Prado Land Cruiser J250, call it whatever you want. It's a great car if you do weekend adventures, or hell, why not everyday adventures, and you need to carry kids to school in the meanwhile. If you need to carry kids to school all the time, do your groceries, be stuck in traffic, this is not the car for you. Get a Lexus, get a BMW, anything but that. But I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and now I have to find civilization again. So if I post this video, I found it, and if I don't, then I'm talking to myself. I'll see you in the next one. Inshallah.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.